Okay, welcome everyone. Today's topic is the offer traps and pitfalls. Okay, what is it that most people make a mistake when making an offer? Okay, so we're going to be talking about many areas where investors are making huge mistakes that unfortunately are costing them to lose a lot of money. Okay, so I'm just going to show you an example of an email that I got. Some time ago, but I just want you to focus on the last portion of the email, okay, the last paragraph where they say we bought the property for 125 and the rehab cost and holding will be approximately 155,000. Okay, the home was a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bathrooms. However, we transformed these to a 4+1 bathrooms and 3.5 bathrooms. So the house was just listed on a week ago and we already received an offer for 385, and we have informed that another offer would come at 389. So look at this. So the seller is saying, praise God, that we would put a profit over 80,000. Okay, so everything, perhaps looks fantastic, right? But there are many problememations here. Okay, so first of all, bigger doesn't mean better. Actually, bigger means more risk and the potential of losing a lot of money if you don't know what you're doing. Okay, so you need to keep it simple. First of all, you are an investor. So we're not a construction company. We're not rehabbers per trade. So in this case, they're doing extensions, they're adding bathrooms, they're changing the layout. That is way too risky. You are going to take a lot longer in your rehab. Okay, the scope of work is just gonna explode. Therefore, your risk. So you don't want to get into these type of deals unless you have a lot of experience and you have construction company or construction background. But even then, I've talked to people with construction background and they're not taking these type of projects. Okay, look at this, 155,000 in rehab. I mean that's just huge. Okay, it's just like building a new house. Okay, so we're not builders by any means. So we just want to be in and out. So the rule of thumb here, there are many things. First of all, stay below 200,000. Single family homes are ideally 3-bedroom, 2 baths. Okay, and then we personally don't like basements because that can cause a lot of problems, right? Especially with flooding. So we just like crawl spaces. That's just the best what we found causes the least number of problems. Okay, but if it has a basement, not a big deal. The property we closed on last week, it does have a basement, which by the way, we're gonna take you to that property on a live event, okay, so that you can see the before rehab, and then once we finish the rehab, you'll see the after. Okay, it's in Elmwood Park. It's a B+ area, very nice area. So again, stay below 200,000. Now the rehab, it's going to be super critical for you. Again, stay below 40,000 because imagine a 40,000 rehab is going to take you about 5 to 6 weeks if everything goes according to plan, right? But a rehab of 155,000, guess what? It's going to take you at least 6 to 8 months if everything goes okay. Because guess what? When you are spending this much money in rehab, you're touching every single system in the property: HVAC, plumbing, electric, windows, roof, perhaps foundation. And then if you're doing an extension, then you need to bring an architect to do the blueprints. So you're going to be pulling a lot of permits. You're going to be working very closely with the village. So it's going to be very risky. And then if you think about it, they're going to be making 80,000. You know how long it's going to take them to make 80,000? Think about this. The rehab on this project is going to be 6 to 8 months. Now, market time, okay? They said they just put it on the market and got an offer. So at least you're looking at 8 months. So think about this. 10,000 per month profit, okay? But that is a very risky project, okay? That you have a lot at stake, that you can lose a lot of money, especially right now in this economy where sales have dropped in the Chicagoland area 20%. Property prices have decreased 2%, so it's super risky to take on these type of projects, because if you buy the property today, in 8 months, guess what? Even if you do the rehab, by then the property prices may have dropped even further. So according to NAR, property prices are going to drop in the next 6 to 12 months up to 20%. So something that you can buy today for 100,000 may be worth 80,000. So again, minimizing your risk, it's critical, and then understanding your numbers, right? So it's not like, for instance, you buy the property for 100,000, you put in 50,000, and then if you sell it for 200,000, that means that you're making 50,000. Okay, that never happens. Okay, that never happens. So we are going to go over and making sure that you understand the numbers. If you buy it for 50 and you put in 50, all in 150, if you sell it for 200, you're not making 50,000, okay? If you make 10,000, you're gonna be very lucky, okay? Because people ignore that you have holding expenses that you need to pay for tax, insurance, operating expenses. So there are a lot of expenses that are involved in the transaction that people oftentimes disregard, okay? So that is something that we're gonna take a look at the numbers, understanding the numbers in a very easy way, because I like to take simple steps to coming up with a great offer, okay? So having said that, let's find some examples of properties, and then whether they make sense or not, we're gonna figure that out right now, okay? So for instance, we're gonna look into some off-market and then MLS properties as well. And then let's see if we can potentially make an offer on the spot right now. So the first thing is I'm gonna search MLS. I'm gonna search an area. Can I have some areas on the line via the chat, or you can unmute yourself? Because I would like to make this as real as possible. So if you're looking at in a certain area, I would like to target that area, okay? Because I want to show you the way it should be done, how simple it should be, and I'm going to show you
Garfield Park.
Garfield Park.
East
Okay,
Garfield Park.
Oh, East. Let me see. East Garfield Park. Okay. So before I go into that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up the neighborhood, okay? Because again, the first thing that you need to know is understand East Garfield, understand your market, okay? Because the one thing that you do need to understand is that this area supports your exit strategy. Because in real estate, you only have 3 options as exit. You wholesale, buy, or flip. That's it. So in this case, look at this. East Garfield Park in Chicago, it's a D area, cash flow, okay? That's the livability score is 55, so it's quite low. Now here, something that we obviously pay attention is the sweet spot to buy a DE, stands for detached or single family home, is 208. Okay, and the rents are about 1,100. Okay, so let's see what we find in this neighborhood, East Garfield Park. Again, it's a D area. So right now, C and D areas have been hit the hardest with the unemployment. So people can't afford to pay rent and mortgage. Why? Because they don't have any sources of employment. But let's just give it a try. And then the max, I'm gonna put 175,000. And then we have no limits on the number of bedrooms and baths active. Okay, find deals. So what I want to show you is, so right here, we found one for 95,000, ARV 130,000. Okay, so in this case, how much should we offer for this property? And is this even worth it? Okay, so the first thing, we're gonna go into the details. Once you understand the area, that it supports your exit strategy. The second thing that you need to look at is location, location, location. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in. You just want to make sure that you're in a quiet street, nowhere near busy streets, airports, train tracks, cemeteries, rivers, creeks, none of that, okay, because that's going to affect your property value. So it seems to be in a quiet street. Now I'm going to show view. Okay, you want to take a look at, this is the property right here. So if I go up and down, you want to stay away from neighborhoods where there are a lot of border up houses, okay, or a lot of vacant lots. Okay, so right here I see a lot of vacant lots. Okay, a lot of so obviously this is a challenging area for sure. Okay, so you really need to be comfortable with the neighborhood. And again, it all depends on your exit strategy. Now, if the property is worth about 130,000, the question is, how much should you offer for this property? In this case, they're not giving much information as to the pictures. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the details and see if there are any details on these. Agent remarks, so there's nothing on this property. Which is not a great sign, right? Typically, you have a lot of pictures. When you don't have many pictures, then that means that it might be a good rehab. But how do you know how much to offer for this property? It is very simple. So I'm going to show you with a simple calculator what numbers you need to look at. Okay, so here, let me pull up the calculator. So if the property is worth 130,000, okay, so we're gonna need to multiply this times 70%. And then the question is, why 70% to make an offer? Because 20% is going to be your return on investment should you decide to sell the property. And then 10% is going to be for your carrying costs or holding expenses such as mortgage, insurance, utilities, maintenance, and so forth while you rehab the property. That is why you multiply that times 70%, okay? And then that comes to 91,000 minus rehab. So the rehab is a big question mark, okay? But a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, just by looking at the property, is going to be about 12 to 1,500 square feet. So take that and multiply the square footage times $20. So it's going to be, the rehab is going to be no less than 30,000 on this, assuming that it's going to be light to medium. Okay, we're not going to like redo entire systems like plumbing, electric. So the most we should offer for this property would be no more than 60,000. But obviously, we need to see the property from the inside because the assumption is that we're going to spend 30,000 on this property. Okay, so that is just an example of how you prevent yourself from overpaying for the property. Okay, now when you make an offer, I'm gonna go through the exercise. Can I get another neighborhood as well, please? So that we have more, you can put them via the chat or unmute yourself. Mount Prospect and Elmwood Park. Okay, so let's do, actually we can put multiple cities. So here I'm going to do Mount Prospect and then Elmwood Park. So these are great neighborhoods. Mount Prospect is an A neighborhood. So again, I'm going to limit my search. I don't want to see properties over, you can do 225, but you want to stay below 200,000 for sure. So Mount Prospect is an A neighborhood. Elmwood Park, it's a B plus neighborhood. Okay, so right here, what you need to look at is the spread between the asking price and what the property could be worth once you do all the repairs. So in here, you need to find the spread. So the ARV, it's very close to the asking price. So we're gonna skip that. And then you also need to look at the sex appeal of the property, right? If it catches your eye, then it's gonna be easier to sell or rent, okay? So it's not always about the numbers. So Elmwood Park, 160,000. That seems like very, very low. This 198 in Man Prospect, that also seems quite well. So let's just take a look at the one in Man Prospect, and then we're gonna find another one in Elmwood Park. So here we have a lot more pictures. So we wanna get an idea of what it takes for the rehab. So the property is dated, okay, very dated. So you need a new kitchen, new bathroom, I'm sure. Look at the kitchen, even the colors, the tile, the carpeting, the walls. Okay, but this would be considered a light to medium rehab where you're gonna pretty much update the flooring, the kitchen, the bath, paint, light fixtures. Hopefully you don't need to redo like windows. Now this is something interesting, right? If it's we need to see this on the map because look, if they're putting this picture, it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,200 square feet. That means that it's in the corner, okay? And then you are by 2 really busy streets. So that could be a deal breaker for many, many people. So if I zoom in, whoa, it's like super close to Run Road. So this could be a big deal, right? If you're gonna flip the property, okay? Because this is like a 5-lane. Yeah, here you have 2, 3, 4, 5-lane road, okay? So this could be extremely noisy. So this is the property. That's the only drawback. But let's take this property and see if it makes sense to make an offer. So they're asking for 198. One of the things that you need to pay attention to is market time. How many days it's been on the market? Because oftentimes a lot of properties have been on the market for over 6 months, okay? So obviously there's something not right with the property and we need to figure that out. If it's an MLS property, we need to call the agent and we give you the contact information right here under the details for the listing agent right here. So this is the listing agent. So here, this is being sold as is, okay? So when it's sold as is, that means that obviously you are in charge of everything. So the only problem here is location and also the lot distribution, right? It's sort of like in the corner, so people don't like that. So here, how much should you offer for this property? We don't know based on the pictures. If we take the square footage, which is 1,200, here we're coming up with 20 to 30,000 for rehab. That's just a ballpark. Based on the pictures, I would say that it may go a little bit higher because since this property is really dated, I'm sure that electric and plumbing might also need some work, okay? So onto this estimate, what I like to do is I like to add a cushion of 5 to 10,000. So I'm gonna say probably 40,000 for rehab, okay? So here, we're gonna give you what you need to pay for the property already, depending on what the ARV is. So these properties, ARV is somewhere in the 260, 260,000. So we're applying the same formula that we take the ARV, multiply that times 70 minus the rehab. So here, the most we should pay is somewhere in the 150 to 160 range. Will they take that offer? I doubt it because it's been in the market only for less than 2 weeks, okay? But it's worth a shot, right? So what is the next step before you even make a formal offer? The next step is instead of making an offer, because let me tell you, when you make an offer, it doesn't matter whatever number you offer is going to be wrong unless you're offering over asking price, right? But we will never do that. So you want to speak with the listing agent. We want to find out as much confidential information as possible. So we want to know what they're looking for, right? How quickly they want to sell. You want to find out how motivated they are. So what I like to go is find out exactly what they're looking for price-wise. Okay, that is going to be super, super important. So in fact, I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to call the listing agent and I just want to get a sense of how much they're looking for. Well, we already know that this is not I would skip this property altogether. I just want to show you the process, right? So we would call and then find out what they're looking for. So I'm gonna call Mark right now. So 847-456-6860. Okay, let's find out and try to get some confidential information. Okay. Hey, Mark. This is Hugo from Home First Realty. I'm calling regarding your listing in St. Louis in Mount Prospect. Okay, so I must have gotten the wrong number. Let me see if I'll dial it right. Yeah, let me try the other number. 847-797-0200. Okay, let me try that. Hopefully they'll pick up the phone, and then we're gonna get some more confidential information. So they're not picking up the phone, but I'm gonna tell you what the conversation should be like. So when you speak with the listing agent, you're gonna say, hey, this is, you could say that you're an investor, right? So this is, let's say, Mark, and I'm interested in your listing at 226. You say the address, and I say, you know, I would like to make a fair offer for your listing, but I would like to get more information. What is it that your client is looking for? Okay, and so oftentimes listing agents are very unethical. So they're going to tell you, because they want to sell the property, they're going to tell you, well, my client is looking in the low 180s. That's their bottom line. So you're going to get oftentimes confidential information, which is very valuable. And based on that, you can make an offer. So to make an offer, let me show you what you need to do. So here, there's a make offer button right here. So with this process, all you need to do is how much you're going to offer for the property. So we know we shouldn't offer more than 164. So we're going to go 160. In fact, 155. Okay, now when you're going to close on the property, so you need to give yourself at least, if you're going to be using a Harmony lender, you need to give yourself at least 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, because 1 week is going to be for inspection and attorney review, and then lenders need to send out an appraiser. So that process typically takes 2 weeks, and then for underwriting, it can take another week, so 3 to 4 weeks using a Harmony lender. So give yourself enough room, otherwise you need to file extensions. So I would say end of August would be very reasonable. Now, Earnest Money. People ask, well, how much money should I put down? You know, this is optional. We like to put down no more than $2,000. Okay, so my average, I would say, is $1,500. This doesn't really matter as much because you will never lose this money. When you put the Earnest Money down, guess what? It goes into an escrow account. So even if you breach or default in the contract, guess what? The seller cannot take your Earnest Money unless you explicitly agree to it. Okay, so oftentimes, even if you happen to breach the contract, you always negotiate. Yeah, if you cause them some economic damage, let's say they put off their property from the MLS for a month or so, right? So you might settle and then let them keep $1,000, for instance, if it is truly your fault. But when you have a great attorney, that will never happen because we're going to be filing extensions. So that we don't put your you don't have your earnest money in jeopardy. You always are going to get that money back. Okay, so it doesn't matter what you put, but once you make an offer and it gets accepted, you have 24 hours to render that money. So we don't like to put a lot of money in down payment. I've seen some people that put 5, 10,000. It's just nonsense, right? Because you're just uh, putting that money down for nothing. Eventually, you're gonna get it, but if you can put only less than $2,000, why not, right? And then in here, this is where you check in whether it's gonna be as-is or dual agency. That means if you're gonna be represented by the seller's broker. Okay, that is optional. So let me tell you the trick on this. Okay, as is means that you're buying the property, what you see is what you get. Okay, so the seller is not going to make any concessions, they're not going to give you any credit. So you're buying the property as is. Sometimes if you know the property needs a lot of work, this is a great option for bargaining, right? If you want to give them a low ball offer, you can say, well, I'm going to offer you 150 as is. So that means that you're going to take care of all the violations, all the repairs. So people like that. So this is just a way for you to give them a lower offer when you say as is, because sellers don't want to give any credits, they don't want to make any repairs. So when you say as is, that gives you the option to pay them less. Okay, and we love to do that. We do it all the time because we know we're going to be doing pretty much everything on the property: flooring, kitchen, paint, bathrooms, light fixtures. So we're touching pretty much everything. And if there's some light, plumbing, and electric, we're going to do that, including HVAC. So as is typically works really, really well. In fact, when you buy properties from the bank, guess what? The contract, all contracts are going to be as is. The bank is not going to give you a penny for credits, even if it's a good rehab, okay? So it's a good way for you to be able to even pay less for the property, even if it's MLS or off market. Now, dual agency, this only applies for MLS properties, okay? When you are not a broker or you're not using a broker, I love using the dual agency, even if I'm a broker. So let me tell you how it works. This property was listed by Mark, right? That's the listing agent representing the seller. But if you don't have a license, what you can do is the following. The listing agent is going to charge the client about 5 to 6% commission when they sell the property on the net price. So if they sell the property, let's say for 150,000 and they charge 5%, that's $7,500 in commission overall. But guess what? They have to split that commission with the buyer's agent. What if you didn't have a broker and you tell the listing agent, can you represent me? So that means doing dual agency. So the listing agent gets to keep 100% of the commission. Now, why is that so important to be represented by the seller? Why would you want to be represented by the seller's broker? Will they be looking out after your interest, or are they going to be looking out after the seller's interest, right? Are they able to represent you both? The answer is it's in reality, it's very difficult to have fiduciary, it's called fiduciary duty with two people, the buyer and the seller. But this is how it works. Many brokers, they just want to sell the property, right? So they'll do anything to do dual agency. And the cool thing about this is that when they do dual agency, they're going to disclose, believe it or not, confidential information to make the deal work, okay? Because if they know they're gonna make double the commission, they wanna close the deal, right? So they're gonna tell you as the buyer confidential price information. They're gonna say, yeah, my client is looking for this number, and then they don't wanna make any repairs. So they're gonna give you great information. So you end up winning. And we bought properties, a couple of properties just like that. Even if we have a broker's license, we choose to give up the commission. So how much are we giving up? We're giving up $3,000-4,000, but in exchange, we're getting a great deal. And not only that, but it could be at a great price. So that is why we love doing dual agency, even if we have a broker's license. And let me tell you, some of the big REO brokers, okay, like Ryan Smith, Joe Mueller, oftentimes that's their preference, right? They just want to do dual agency. Why? Because they want to maximize their sales commission revenue, okay, which is okay with us because in exchange, you could be getting preferential treatment. It is that simple. And then finally, here, cash transaction. Okay, so you never want to check cash transaction because even if you are using a hard money lender, you still want to have a contingency, a mortgage contingency. If for whatever reason you decide to back out of the deal after your 5-day review and inspection, you should still be able to do that. How can you do that? Through the mortgage contingency. So you can tell the hard money lender, hey, can you please issue a letter where I'm not qualified anymore for the loan, and boom, you are not in breach of contract. Okay, so you never want to pay cash. Even if you have the cash, it's always best to utilize other people's money. So you never want to have no mortgage contingency. Always, even if you use a hard money lender, on the contract, you're going to state rehab loan. So I'll show you what it looks like. So right here, I'm going to do as-is and dual agency, okay? And that's about it, submit offer, okay? And this offer will be generated automatically in seconds for you, okay? So right here, everything is going to be pre-populated. This is going to have your company name. It's going to have the subject properties address, the PIN, and then how much we're paying for the property. So we're offering 155, earnest money 1,500, and then we're closing on August 31st. And then right here, we're defaulting as rehab loan. Okay, that is super important. You always need to have a mortgage contingency. So even if you're using a hard money lender, which is like cash in 3 to 4 weeks, you always want to put that you are doing a rehab loan. Okay, super, super important. And then down below, towards the end of the contract, you are going to see that we even put your initials for the as-is or dual agency. Right here, where is the as-is? So right here, as-is, line right here, as-is. So it has your initials. So when you check off that you're buying the property as-is, that means that you're not getting any credits. What you see is what you get. This is going to get you very far in negotiations. So if the seller has multiple offers and then you say, well, let's say that the property is for sale for 195, you're only offering 155, but as is, the seller might have higher offers, maybe 170, but if they don't have the as is, guess what? The buyer is going to do an inspection and the buyer may request credits, okay, for whatever wrong they find in the property. So sellers don't want to deal with that. But if you say as is, but I'm just going to offer you a lot less for the property, 155, you have a great chance of getting the property, okay? Now, if we go down, then here you're going to have your broker's information, if you have any. If you're going to do dual agency, then the same broker that is listing the property will be here representing you. Then attorney, we use Gary Davidson, and then Chicago Funding for the funding. So now, where do we get these defaults? You have them in your profile. So if I go to the upper right-hand corner under user settings, this is where you're going to specify who your broker is, who your lender is, who your attorney is, okay? This is where you specify that. And not only that, but you can upload 3 documents that are very critical for you to include in your offer. Number one is the proof of funds or line of credit. Number two is your articles of incorporation for your entity. And number three is your operating agreement for your entity. Why is that so important to include in the offer? Because if you just make an offer, that's a great step. You're executing, you're taking action. But if you don't include some sort of pre-approval letter, proof of funds, then your offer is not as strong as it should be. Okay, and then you can run the risk of losing the deal. So it is super important that you include this with your offer. So again, you need your proof of funds or pre-approval letter. Now, if you don't have a hard money lender that has given you that approval letter, please let us know, because we are going to send you a list of over 20 hard money lenders, and they can give you a pre-approval letter, a line of credit. So typically, they're gonna check your credit. It's gonna be a soft inquiry, and they're gonna ask you for your liquidity. And based on that, they're gonna multiply that times 5 or 10, and they're gonna give you like the next day. So simple, a line of credit or pre-approval letter, whatever terms they wanna use, or proof of funds for that much. And oftentimes, like, since we have great relationships with them, they say, well, Hugo, how much money do you want the offer for? So you don't want enough pre-approval letter for $500,000 or $1 million, right? Even if you qualify for that, no, because the seller will want to ask for more money, right? Because if they know that you qualify for that much, then it could be against you. So even if we qualify for more, I always tell them, give me a letter for no more than 300,000. So the ones that we have is 300,000. We have one for 500, but I don't like to use that. I like to keep it 300,000, okay? Because we're focusing on properties of between 150 to 200. That is a sweet spot. And then, as Mark was saying earlier, Mark Dresser, when you analyze the property, take the asking price and add 100,000. So if you are buying the property for 100,000, let's say 150,000, guess what? The ARV on the property should be very close to 225 to 250. Otherwise, your numbers are going to be extremely tight for a flip or for a rental, because ideally you need to have those two exit strategies available to you. You should be able to buy it and rent it, or sell it. So the mistake that investors make is that when they overpay, even if it's for a little bit for the property, they can still rent it and cash flow, but they won't be able to sell it. And that's a big deal, right? Because if you want to liquidate and you can't, that's a big deal. So you should be able to do both. That is why you need to offer, even if you're going to rent the property, the flip price. So here, when we give you in this example how much you should pay for the property, even if you're going to do a rental, you should offer the lower price for the flip exit strategy. Okay, super, super important. So as you can see, we want to offer about 160, but the property is going to be worth 100,000 more than that. That is an amazing rule of thumb that works incredibly well. Okay, so you need to have at least 100,000 spread, but obviously the rehab needs to be kept under 40,000 for this formula to work. Okay, if your rehab is going to be like the one I show you, 80,000, 90,000, over 100,000, forget it. You shouldn't do the deal altogether. But in this case, this property, friends, we wouldn't make an offer because of the location, right? It's in a corner lot, and it's right on top of like a really busy street. Now let's look at another property. I just want you to feel comfortable with this process. Let me go to the next page. Okay, let me move this over. One out of one. Okay, so here that's all we found, and the reason why is because Elmwood Park and Mount Prospect are great neighborhoods. If I was to make the ARV, I mean the sale price a lot higher, like over 300, up to 300,000, we would get a lot more properties, right? But again, you have to keep it simple, especially in this economy. You need to do small, simple houses. Stay away from big projects. Super, super risky. Okay, another one, Valerie mentioned McHenry. We can also do it by counties. So this looks pretty nice, 250,000, 259. Well, so let's just take a look at this property. Okay, 259, it looks really nice. But look at this, ARV, it's 270. You see, I just want to give you the opposite. So the property looks really, really nice. Let's from the outside, and look at this. This is already rehab. So as an investor, you don't want to buy these type of properties, right? Because there's no meat in the bone. You won't be able to do anything with it, not even a rental. So if you wanted to make the numbers work for this property, you would need to pay the rental price, okay? Although you could add the rehab because you don't need to do anything on this. So if the rehab estimate is about 30,000, add 30,000 to this offer, okay? But still, you would offer in the low 200,000. So they've done all the work. They're gonna make money if they bought it for the right price. But for you, this doesn't make sense. So you should be able to analyze deals so quickly, know the asking price, and know what the ARV is and the condition of the property. Based on that, you will never ever overpay for the property. Okay, it is that simple. So these areas are really really nice, so long you have the right spread. Let me see if there are any more areas. Yeah, we have a lot of properties right now. But as you see, the property prices are a lot higher. Okay, so they're in the 270. So all these properties are going to be rehab for the most part, because in Mount Prospect, that's what the properties are selling for, somewhere in the upper 200,000. So when you see these prices, you see they've done work on the property, like nice kitchen. So here, this doesn't look like super, super nice. But right now, remember, there's a shortage of inventory. That is why still property prices are holding high, okay? But that's going to change in the next 6 to 12 months. Why? Because there are going to be so many foreclosures coming down the pipe once they open up the courts sometime in August. By the way, I want to mention that the eviction moratorium has been extended until August 22nd. So that means that you will not be able to do an eviction sooner than August 22nd. Even if the courts reopen in August, you need to wait until August 22nd, okay? FYI, so that just came out this week. Are there any questions on the line that I can help you answer? Because we are covering a lot of information. So I just want to make sure that you fully understand what you need to look at. And then I will quickly summarize so that you have a clear understanding of what the next step is when you make an offer. Okay, so if no questions, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, you mentioned something about the court. 22nd August, some court will be open. Can you repeat that information, please?
Oh, yeah. So the moratorium for evictions has been extended till August 22nd. So that means that if you own a rental and your tenant is not paying you, you won't be able to evict the tenant until August 22nd. Okay. Even if the courts reopen earlier, early August, it doesn't matter. You cannot file an eviction before August 22nd. Okay. Super important.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so let's quickly summarize the pits, the issues when making offers. Okay, this is where you want to stay away from. You want to stay away from, number one, gut rehabs, where the rehab is going to be over 40,000, because you're gonna need to touch all kinds of systems: HVAC, plumbing, electric, roof, windows, foundation. It's just going to be very complicated, especially because you need to pull permits for most of them, like roof, windows, plumbing, electric, rehab. So at least 5 permits. So it's going to be very risky when you take on a project of over 40,000. Not only that, but it's going to take a lot longer. If you take a project of 40,000 or less, it's going to take you up to 6 weeks to complete. So month and a half for rehab. And then if you're going to put it on the market, it could take you up to 2 months to do a deal. So that is just the perfect timing. In order for you to accomplish that, you need to focus on properties that are less than 1,800 square feet. Okay, so that equates to a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, ideally no basement, because remember, basement is a lot more riskier when it comes to flooding, right? And I'm telling you that from experience. We have properties with just crawl space. We love those properties, especially with the heavy rains. On the other side, we own other properties with basement, and guess what? A couple of them flooded. One flooded like 4 feet of water in the basement, okay? Obviously, guess what? The furnace, the water heater, washer and dryer, it was just an expense of very close to $7,000 to $10,000. So it could be very, very costly. And oftentimes it might not be your fault, meaning your plumbing, it might be the village sewage that gets backed up and it goes into the properties. So that is why we like to keep it simple, especially if you're going to keep it for rental. Okay, stay away from properties with basements. Find out if the village has already issues with the sewage. But we like to stay with crawl space. And guess what? We're able to get about the same rent for properties without basements. Okay, so again, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, less than 1,800 square feet, ideally no basement, exterior brick, garage is a big plus, and then in a quiet neighborhood. Now, when it comes to analyzing the deal, number one, the area, the neighborhood needs to support your exit strategy. If you're going to do a flip, a rental, your market needs to support that. So in ChicagoDealVault, on their area reports, every neighborhood, every suburb, we're going to tell you if it's good for flipping or rents, okay, or both. So that's step number one. Step number two, location, right? So even if the property looks amazing in a great neighborhood, if it's like almost on top of the highway or across from the cemetery or very near a river, it's a big no-no. You've got to skip that because your property value is going to drop 40, 50, 60,000. Not only that, but you won't be able to rent it. You won't be able to sell it as quick as you would expect. So location, location, location is very critical. And then you go into the analysis. Again, from the asking price, add 100,000, and that should be your ARV. So if you buy the property for 150, it needs to appraise for at least 250,000. Okay, and when that happens, and your rehab is less than 40,000, you're going to be able to do anything. A flip, cash flow is going to cash flow between 300 to 500 a month. Okay, when you flip it, you're going to make 20% return. So if you sell it for, let's say, 250,000, you're going to be making 50,000 return on the flip. Okay, but due to the economy, please stay away from flips. Right now, it's too risky. If you already have a property, try to sell it as soon as possible. Today, you need to focus on rentals and also refinance because interest rates are historically low. Right now, we're in the process of refinancing 5 properties to put them in a lower interest rate. And then finally, when making an offer, remember, you have the option to use as-is. That's going to give you a step up from the competition because regardless, you're going to need to do everything on the property. So do the as-is. Also, even if you use a hard money lender, put that as the rehab loan in your offer. Give yourself at least a month to close, okay? And then you have 2 contingencies, the inspection and attorney review, which is going to be 5 days after you sign the contract, and then you have your mortgage contingency. So you have 2 pretty much phases where you can get out of the deal. And also remember, earnest money, put less than 2,000. It's not going to make a difference. You will hardly lose that money, even if you breach the contract, because you would need to agree to give up that money. If you don't, then you always need to negotiate. Um, Next, when making an offer, remember, you're going to be making money in real estate when you make offers, talk to listing agents, or talk to owners. That is why this topic is so critical for you to execute. Anything else that you do is going to be overhead. If you do analysis, if you do driving for dollars, that's not going to make you any money. You actually need to be making offers. Okay, when you make an offer, please make sure that you include your proof of funds or pre-approval letter. Please send us an email to support@chicagodealvault.com. We're going to give you the list of 20 or more Harmony lenders who can give you a pre-approval letter. And then include your entity documents like articles of incorporations and operating agreement. Okay, so sellers take you seriously when you make an offer. But before you make an offer, please talk to the listing agent. Try to get as much confidential information as to where the offer needs to be for them to sell it, and also find out if the broker is willing to do dual agency so that you even get a second step ahead of the competition. Okay, so that's my advice. Let me take some questions from the line. Are there any questions? So the properties without basement sell as fast? Um, Absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what makes a property sell fast. Number one, location, right? The neighborhood. And number two, kitchen and bathrooms. Because the decision maker is typically the wife. So if you have a beautiful kitchen, guess what? That's what they love a lot or the most. So basement, it's like it's important for a lot of people, but it's not a deal breaker, believe it or not. It's kitchen, bathrooms, and location of the property. Basement, when you do a flip, is a nice to have, but it's not a deal breaker, especially if you have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. Okay, so the basement is just a plus, but it's not going to add much value to the property. What we've seen in appraisal, it adds between 10 to 15,000. So if you don't have a basement, it's just going to knock off 10 to 15,000, but it won't make a difference as to the speed of selling the property. So once the buyers like it, basements are not a deal breaker. Next, do you purchase a home warranty after you purchase the property? Not really. We've never done that before. Okay. In fact, we never buy warranties on anything, any electronics, nothing. It's just a way for companies to make additional money. So no, we don't do that. And in fact, I don't know investors that currently do that. Like the pros, they never buy home warranties. Okay. Next, are you refinancing with a Harmony lender? Oh, with a Harmony lender? No, we're not refinancing with a hard money lender. We're using a conventional lender. Okay. Now, I've seen many Harmony lenders are giving you the option to put the rehab loan into a rental loan. So once you rented the property, they can put it into a longer term loan, like a 20 to 30-year term, lower interest rate. So many are going that way, that trend, which is great, right? Because they already have all your financials. So it's easy to just turn the loan into rental, and you're going to be saving money on appraisals and closing costs. So yeah, you can do that. But what I've found out is that Harmony lenders are not offering the best interest rates. So they're offering between, I would say, 6 and 7 average. But if you go to a conventional lender, they're going to be giving you 5.5 or less. So that is why we like to use on the back end conventional lenders. Another question is, yes, I mentioned, 2 contingencies. Yeah, the inspection and attorney review is the first contingency, 5 days after you sign the contract. And then a week before you close, you are going to have the mortgage contingency. Even if you use a hard money lender or rehab loan, that's a contingency, right? So that you have 2 phases to get out of the deal should you decide to do that and not risk your earnest money. Another question is, do the conventional lenders require W-2s or 1099? So that depends on your liquidity. Okay, like for instance, I don't have a 1099 or W-2, but we have equity in the properties and we have liquidity, meaning that we have savings. So they're going to be looking at least 6 months of reserves. If you don't have a W-2 or a 1099, which I don't have, right? But so they're going to be wanting to see equity and reserves. If you have that, they're going to be able to refinance, no problem. Obviously, when you have equity in the properties and cash flow, it's easy to refinance. Next, mortgage contingency. What was the other? So you have the mortgage contingency, and then the first contingency is going to be your inspection/attorney review. So that's when, once you get the property in the contract, you have 5 days, 5 business days to bring an inspector to check out the property, give you a report of the findings. They're going to look at material defects on the property and they're going to give you a report. And the second contingency, as part of the first contingency, is the attorney review. So your attorney is going to review the contract, make sure that everything goes okay. And the second contingency is the mortgage contingency. Another question is, for 4 to 6 units, how much earnest money should it be? So again, that's always negotiable, but I like to do no more than 1%. So if the property you're buying is 300,000, I wouldn't want to go more than 3,000-4,000 on the earnest money. Okay, that's just us. We don't like to have money tied up for nothing. Okay, we just want to make a fair offer and just get it closed. Next, okay, so are there any other questions? If you don't have access yet to ChicagoDealVault so that you start finding and making offers ASAP now, we're gonna give it to you for free. So this is how you get it for free. You get it for free for the next 30 days. Fill that out. For the package right here, you're going to select special ChicagoDealVault. Okay, package is special ChicagoDealVault. Okay, and the promo code is offers. So here the promo code now is offers. And then get it for free for the next 30 days. And then unlimited training, one-on-one training, one-on-one via Zoom. And then if you decide that this is not for you, that's okay. You still got everything: access to our preferred partners, cash buyers, area reports, off-market deals, MLS access, the whole 9 yards. You're going to have access to that for the next 30 days. If you decide to stay, then it's going to be $140 a month, which is the promotional rate. Retail is $190. We're going to lock you in at $140 per month after 30 days. No commitment, you can cancel anytime, okay? But at least I want you to get started today. I want you to start making offers. I want you to start talking to listing agents, right? Get a feel, get comfortable making offers. It's just very simple. With a click of a button, you can make an offer, okay? Because that offer is going to go in your inbox, and then from there you can forward that to the listing agent, or you can forward that to your broker. Okay, very simple. When you get started and trained, we're gonna help you set that up, okay? So you start making offers today, not tomorrow, not in 2 days. You start analyzing and making offers for the right price, okay? And remember, you need to make a lot of offers on properties that you believe have potential, so that you start making money when you get the property on the contract. Not when you flip it, not when you rent it. You start making money the minute you get a great deal on the contract. Because even if you don't buy the contract, the property, guess what? You can wholesale the property to an investor, to a cash buyer, and make money. So again, you're gonna be making money when you focus on making offers, talking to listing agents, talking to brokers or owners, and you are going to make money when you get deals on the contract at a great price. Okay, you don't need to wait until you rehab it or even buy the property, because you can wholesale the property and we will help you move the property. In Chicago Deal Vault, here we have right now, I think it's over 30 active wholesale deals. Okay, so we're gonna help you move your deal to cash buyers or investors. Okay, so these are active wholesale deals. So people get properties on the contract, they're not gonna buy them, they're just gonna sell the rights of the contract to somebody else. And in the process, they make a nice finder's fee of 5 to 10% or more. Okay, so again, if you don't have access, please make sure that you get access today. Another question is, am I able to find probates? Yeah, absolutely. Right here, probates. You have access to probates. In fact, probates is one of the best lead pipe, okay? Because most of these properties are free and clear of a mortgage. So we're gonna give you the information of the administrator, executor, everything on the property. So yeah, you're gonna have access to probates, super important. Another question is, do you think the market will go into a recession like 2005? It's in a recession for sure, um, but it's not going to be as bad as 2008. Property prices are going to correct themselves, meaning go down for up to 20% in the next 12 months. Why? Because of the huge wave of forbearance, owners who can't afford to pay the mortgage payment, they will eventually go into foreclosure. So there's going to be a tsunami wave, right, of foreclosures. Once the courts open up, and that's just going to make property prices go down. But the good thing is that still interest rates are low, but the problem is unemployment, right? It's historically high at 25%, and nothing is going to change until after elections. Okay, so things typically people wait and see what happens after elections. So property prices are still going to hold high. Right now, they have dropped between 2 to 7%, but they're gonna still, in some areas, especially in Chicago, stay high. Property prices are still high, but after elections into winter and spring 2021, property prices are gonna drop. Okay, but they're not gonna drop more than 20%. Okay, in the next 12 months. So keep that in mind. You're gonna start to see great deals coming down the pipe in the next 6 to 12 months. Okay, so right now you need to save money. Cash is going to be king. Keep your FICO as high as you can. Over 700 will give you the best terms, but it's not a deal breaker because you're going to be using asset-based lenders. Lenders that focus on the deal itself, not so much on you, your W-2, your experience. No, they're going to be wanting to see a great deal with equity, cash flow, and the debt coverage ratio over 1.2. Okay, so focus on finding great deals with a lot of equity. That's going to be really important. So stay away from flips, focus on wholesaling and rentals. Flips are too risky because of the same reason, right? People are not going to do anything right now. So unless you have a great property, you won't be able to sell it. And then by the time right now we're gonna get into the fall and winter, so it's too risky. By the time you finish the rehab and put it on the market, you're gonna be into the fall and winter, and then property prices going down. So stay away from flips right now, please. So that's my prediction for the next 6 to 12 months. Unfortunately, we have very high unemployment, so people can't pay the mortgage, they can't pay the rents. So a lot of evictions are going to happen starting end of August, and obviously when the courts reopen, a lot of foreclosures coming down the pipe. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining. If no further questions, please make sure that you get DealVault for free for the next 30 days. Start making offers today. You don't lose anything. In fact, if you get a property under contract, you can already make a lot of money because we're going to help you move that contract should you decide not to buy it or flip it. So thank you everyone for joining today.